Hey, if you're new to my channel, then consider liking and subscribing. It would really mean a lot to me, and honestly, it'd make my day. If you already did, thank you so much. Oh, and by the way, if you like listening to fan fiction, check out my other channel. The link's in the description.
A Crew for a King by Fallen Angel Codester. To become king of the pirates, you need a crew, and in order to reach his dream, Luffy will need all the help he can get. Extended crew story, slightly more serious Luffy. Adios.
How is he? Mari asked worriedly. Nami tied the bandage around Yosaku tightly, sighing. He's fine, she replied. The cuts are mostly superficial, they didn't cut him deeply. He did lose a lot of blood, though. The crew who had been abducted all sighed in relief at this, Yosaku laughing weakly. See? He asked, it's only skin deep, I'll be fine. You can't keep doing that, Mari shouted down at him, annoyance evident on her face. That's twice now you've gotten yourself hurt to protect me, stop. But it's my job to protect you, Yosaku replied sternly. Not to sound hard on myself, but Johnny and I aren't on the crew for our abilities. We're really just good at protecting the more valuable crew members. Nami frowned at this, not happy to see Johnny nodding along. Don't talk like that, Vivi said sternly. You both are part of this crew, your lives are just as valuable as any of ours. Don't just throw them away because you think the others needed Mari or I more. Yeah, Nami agreed with a small smile. If either of you die, I'll kick your ass. I'll make your ghost swab Mary's deck for eternity. Doesn't mean our job isn't to protect you, Johnny noted. Nami looked over at him to see he looked deep in thought, the deck reflecting off his sunglasses. Yosaku and I want to be able to protect people who need us. We were almost not good enough back there. You fought off a priest of Enel, Reiki said, speaking up for the first time. I'd say you're plenty strong. I already said, we didn't fight him off, Johnny replied. His eyes drifted to the side, and Nami followed them. She saw nothing there, except for Mary's broadside cannon pointing outwards. Who fired the cannon? Usopp asked. Shira got hit by a cannon, but I didn't see anyone near it. Did anyone do it? I didn't, Mari admitted. Neither did I, Vivi said. Both Johnny and Yosaku also shook their heads. All eyes fell on the cannon, but it didn't move or speak to them. It just sat there, like a cannon would. No one spoke for a moment, the only sound being the crocodiles in the clouds below. Okay, Yosaku said, I'm kinda freaked out by that. We'll figure it out later, Vivi said, turning to Nami. Thanks for coming to get us. Did the others go ahead to the city? Yeah, Nami answered. We split up once you guys got taken. Sorry it took so long. Hopefully the others have made it to Enel by now. Doubtful, Reiki said with a frown. If Shiro was awake, odds are the other priests were as well. Not to mention Naga might be slithering around. So what do we do now? Vivi asked. Do we head out and leave Mary here? Unless you have a better idea, Reiki said, then yeah, we'll have to come back for your ship later. Navigating it out of here with all those crocodiles present would be difficult. Not to mention there's no body of water close to the city. We can't take her there. We can't abandon Mary here, Usopp said. That priest already tried to light her on fire. What if he comes back and burns her to ash? Do you have a better idea? Reiki asked him. Usopp could not offer a response, which seemed to annoy him as he crossed his arms and grumbled to himself. Exactly, you don't. Let's gather anything you guys still need and get out of here. Genbo and I will transfer everyone to the shoreline, and we can walk the rest of the way to the city. Johnny, Mari said as Reiki walked away from them to survey the shoreline. I have some paints and other chemicals down below in a crate that I can't carry. Can you bring it up here for me to sort through? Sure thing, little sis, Johnny said, getting to his feet. Nami watched the swordsman disappear into the cabin before looking back at Yosaku. Are you okay to go? She asked him. You can stay if you're in too much pain. As if, Yosaku shouted as he sat up and puffed out his chest. I'm good to go, big sis. You can rely on me. Nami couldn't help but chuckle at his attitude. I'm glad, she said. What would I do without my big, strong cabin boys to help me out? This made Yosaku deflate a little. Calling me a cabin boy hurts more than these cuts, he muttered, making her laugh. Get up, ya big dope, she said, smacking his head. Let's get ready to move. She helped Yosaku to his feet, ignoring his wince as he did so. As he walked around to get rid of the stiffness, Johnny returned carrying a crate in his arms. That was fast, Mari noted as she got up to walk to him. How did you find it so fast? Find it? Johnny asked. It was right at the bottom of the stairs waiting for me. Didn't you leave it there earlier? Mari made a face at this, both of them looking down at the crate. I don't think I did, she mumbled, rubbing her chin. Well, whatever, thanks for grabbing it for me. Yeah, no problem, Johnny replied. As the swordsman walked away, Nami also looked down at the crate. She then looked towards the cannon they had spoke about before, watching it warily. Something weird is going on this ship, she mumbled, more than usual. Just stay quiet, Wiper warned in a whisper. Luffy frowned down at the forest floor below them. Or rather, the giant snake slithering around beneath them. Nola had caught up to them quickly, and had been slowing them down for the past several hours. She didn't seem to know they were there, but Wiper's insistence that they needed to avoid her at all costs made it difficult to move. Can't you try talking to her, Chopper? He asked, looking over his shoulder down the tree branch to the reindeer. Chopper shook his head, looking frightened. She's not speaking a language I understand, he replied. Even then, I can tell she's really mad. I don't think showing ourselves is a good idea. Well, we better do something, Robin noted, otherwise we won't make it to the city before dawn. Luffy cast an eye towards the skyline, noting that it was indeed growing brighter. Any ideas? Zoro asked to none of them in particular. Wiper grimaced. The only thing that would distract Nola is another meal in her line of sight, he said. But we don't have anything to distract her with. Sure we do, someone said. Luffy looked up to see one of Wiper's men, the one named Bram, had spoken. I'll get her attention and lead her away from the city. Yatsubane, come with me. You got it, the other warrior replied. Luffy looked at Wiper to see he looked displeased. Don't do anything stupid, he advised as the pair prepared to drop down. Just run and make sure she's following. No hero moves. Sure thing, Wiper, Bram replied. You guys be careful too. Closer we get to the city, the more likely we'll see the priests. With that the pair jumped down, landing on a thick branch below. Hey, you big stupid lizard! Yatsubane shouted. We're over here, are you blind? Nola's head whipped around in their direction, hissing angrily as she spotted them. Ah, is the big stupid snake mad? Bram asked. Well, come and get us if you're so mad. Nola's response was to shoot through the undergrowth towards them, causing both men to reach for the dials they'd taken and activate them. Clouds shot out of the dials, causing the two to use their shooter skates and fly off in the direction they'd come from. Nola followed after them quickly, the smaller plants and trees trampled as she passed and left a snake-shaped path. We'd better hurry, Wiper muttered. Nola is impatient and disinterested in games. If she can't find them, she'll probably come back looking for us. Agreed, Luffy said. Robin, can you help us get down? Of course, Captain, Robin replied, raising her arms. Luffy and the others were grabbed on their sides by arms that had sprouted out of the trees, and they were all lowered back down onto the ground by Robin's devil fruit ability. Once they were down on the ground, Kamakiri cast her an interested look. You pirates have weird abilities, he said to her, making her smile innocently. Sure is useful, though. It comes in handy, Robin agreed. Luffy saw Nijiko roll her eyes at this, but he didn't know why. Hope you're useful, ILIED, as they continued their trek through the trees. I wouldn't be here if I was helpless, Robin said. I suppose not, no, Wiper agreed. There was a pointed silence among the 10 of them, silently walking through the trees and underbrush. Luffy wanted to whistle or something to distract himself, but he sensed that wouldn't be appreciated. Before long, fog started to surround them. At first it was minimal and he didn't pay attention to it, but soon the fog thickened and before long, Luffy could barely see ahead of himself. What the hell is this fog? He asked, covering his eyes with the brim of his hat. Where is it coming from? I don't know, Wiper replied, but I don't like this one bye. The hair on the back of Luffy's neck stood up on end, and on instinct he shoved Wiper to the right and jumped left himself. Just as they left the ground, barbed wire shredded through the ground where they'd been standing. He quickly got to his feet and looked around, but he couldn't see the others or where the attack had come from. That was bad. Zoro? He asked out loud. Sanji? Nijiko? Luffy, we're over here? He turned in the direction of Nijiko's voice, running through the fog towards her. He soon caught a glimpse of her blue hair, but something else caught his eyes as well. Namely, the barbed wire cutting him off from them. The wires were tightly wound and so close together he didn't dare try and squeeze through them, leaving him on the opposite side. "Where did that barbed wire come from?" Sanji asked. "What happened?" "It's one of Enel's priests." Luffy turned to see Wiper was on their side of the wire, looking angry. "We've been found out." "That implies we were unaware at one point," someone else said. At these words, the fog dissipated and gave Luffy a clear view of their surroundings. He was trapped inside a massive cage of barbed wire, while Wiper and the others were outside of it. Robin and Chopper had been trapped inside with him, as well as Kamakiri and Warashi. Wiper was with Zoro, Sanji and Nijiko, with Mayushika standing with him. However, there was a man in the cage who Luffy did not recognize. He was bald and pretty muscular, with wings on his back. Unlike Wiper's people, though, his were bigger and looked usable. He had a goatee that ended in a braid, and had sharp glasses covering his eyes. "It's rather sad you thought you could sneak around an island of skilled mantra users," the man said, swinging a sword over his shoulder and resting it there. "But I suppose the desperate often try unusual tactics." "Who are you?" Luffy demanded. "Why are you wearing sunglasses before sunrise? You don't even look as cool as Johnny." The man raised an eyebrow at this, but did not answer him. "My name is Ohm," he answered, "and I'm a priest of Enel. Welcome to the Ordeal of Iron, invaders. It's a pleasure to welcome you." "Of all people." Kamakiri hissed to Luffy's left. Of course it was him. "You know this guy?" Luffy asked him. Kamakiri nodded. "Ohm is second only to Enel," he answered. "His Ordeal of Iron has never been escaped from." "I'm flattered you know of me," Ohm said to him. "It's a good you've done your research. It matters little, though. Your rebellion ends here, and now." "I'm flattered too," Luffy said, making Ohm tilt his head. "Thanks for going out of your way to come to us. I thought we'd have to fight Enel and his priests together." "This is rather fortuitous," Robin said. Luffy had no idea what that word meant, but it sounded like she was agreeing with him. "We can deal with him now so he's not a problem later." "Do you really think you can fight us 5-on-1? Chopper asked, transforming into his bigger form. "We're not pushovers." "What do numbers matter when I can see your movements?" Ohm asked. "Besides, even if I do fall, I just need to stall that one." He pointed his blade at Luffy, who made a face. "Why me?" he asked. "Did you think Lord Enel did not hear your conversation earlier yesterday?" he asked. "We know all about how you are supposedly a counter to him. While I deal with you, Lord Enel will complete the maxim and destroy your friends. Then, it doesn't matter what you do." Luffy frowned at this. So Enel had heard them after all, huh? That was annoying. "Wiper," he called, not looking over his shoulder. "Go on ahead. We'll meet you at the city." "What do you mean?" Wiper demanded. "I need you at the city. Without you there is no plan." "Well, I can't go anywhere until Baldy here gets his ass beat," Luffy replied. "You're welcome to sit and wait, I suppose. Zoro, Sanji, Nijiko, go with him. He'll need all the help he can get." "Sure thing," Zoro replied. "Try not to take too long with this guy, yeah? Or else I might steal all the glory." Luffy cackled at this. "As if I'm the captain, I get the glory." Wiper watched their interaction quietly, before he grimaced and turned away from Luffy. "You'd better hurry up, Luffy," he shouted. "Remember, it's at the base of the giant beanstalk." "Base of the Shanbok, got it," Luffy replied. He only heard Wiper growl in response before their feet resounded off the ground as they ran off. Ohm watched them go, lazily shrugging his shoulders. "They won't get far," he said. "Gedatsu will ensure that, and Satori will deal with your other friends." "Other friends?" Chopper asked. "Do you mean Usopp and everyone else? Are they okay?" "They gave poor Shira a run for his money, but otherwise fine for now," Ohm answered. "Once they descend deeper into the jungle, though, they'll be in trouble." "I'm sure they'll manage," Luffy said, cracking his knuckles. "I'll finish up here and make sure they get there safely." Ohm smirked at him, and Luffy took a step forward to start the fight. "Get back, Luffy," Kamakiri shouted. Luffy did not listen fast enough, his left foot pressing down until something clicked. He looked down and saw what looked like a dial beneath his foot. And it shot out more barbed wire at him. "I can't believe we're seriously continuing on without him." Wiper shouted as they ran. This was completely ridiculous. We need him. He won't be long, Zoro said to him, being dragged in the correct direction by Negico after he almost ran off. We'll manage until he gets there. Besides, Mayushika said to Wiper's right, it's not like we're completely without a plan. Wiper cast him an irritated glance. We can't bet on that, he said hotly. If it doesn't work, it'll take me out of the fight and screw us over even harder. What are you talking about? Sanji asked, giving Wiper a curious glance. He frowned and subconsciously reached for the weapon in question. It's a last-ditch weapon to kill Enel, Wiper replied. It was the original plan I made. If Luffy gets held up too long, we won't have a choice but to use it. He'll be fine, Negico offered, having drawn her pistols beforehand. Let's get to the city. Wiper nodded quickly and kept running, trying to keep his mind off of the fact that his plan was falling apart. Easier said than done. He was so distracted, in fact, that he ignored the fog closing in on them once more. Are we ready to go? Reiki asked. Usopp looked around the others to see everyone nodding, so he did so as well. Good, let's go. We're running out of time. The group had spent the last 20 minutes moving everyone to the shore and getting prepared, just now ready to set off. Usopp fell in line behind Johnny and in front of Yosaku, who were guarding either end of the group. He admired the swordsman's courage, both having received the brunt of Shira's attacks. The fact that they were willing to still fight was incredible to him. Frowning, he cast a look over his shoulder towards the altar, where Mary still lay. He didn't like the fact that they had to abandon her, but Reiki was right. She was stuck where she was, and they couldn't take her to the city. We'll be back soon, Mary, he muttered to himself. Stay safe. With this he turned around, focusing his eyes ahead of him. Hurry back, I'll miss you. Good luck. The entire group stopped besides Reiki and Genbo, who cooking over his shoulder as Usopp, confused. What did you say, big bro? He asked. Usopp made a face back at him. I didn't say anything, he replied. He turned back to look at Nami, Vivi and Mari, who also looked confused and turned to Yosaku. I didn't say it, he said, it sounded like a girl said it. Wasn't me, Mari said. Me either, Vivi noted. I heard someone speak, Nami said. Silence fell upon the crew as Reiki and Genbo also stopped to watch them with a confused look. What? Reiki asked. Something you forgot? No, Vivi replied. We thought we heard. All eyes returned to the Mary. The figurehead stared innocently back at them. Come on, Reiki said before any of them could voice their thoughts. We need to go, now. The entire crew fell in line with them again, quietly heading into the jungle. Usopp tried his best to ignore the feeling of eyes watching him. There was no way, right? There was just no way that was what had just happened to them, right? Right? Nami glanced worriedly at the sky, which seemed to be getting lighter by the minute. It's close to sunrise, she said warily. I hope Luffy's already at the city. Unless they got stopped, they should be, Reiki replied. Wiper wouldn't let something small stop them. And, what if he isn't there? Usopp asked. Reiki grimaced as they trudged through the jungle. We hope he makes it there before sunrise, and Enel wipes us out. Silence fell upon the troop at this, Johnny finally laughing awkwardly. That was a good one, big sis Reiki, he said, you're funny. It was very clearly no joke, but Nami appreciated the attempt at lightening the mood. Looking up at the trees over their heads, she watched as birds she had never seen before squawked and flew all over the place, seemingly disturbed by something. This caused the hair on the back of her neck to stand up on end, and she didn't like it. Move over, Mari, she said, moving to stand between Johnny and Yosaku where the painter was standing. They stood a better chance at surviving an attack than she did, after all. Do you see anything, Usopp? Mari asked. Usopp was standing at the back of the pack, using the goggles he always wore on his head to scan their surroundings. Nothing yet, he replied, but that doesn't mean they aren't out there. Let them pray they don't run into my 7,000 soldiers. No one is looking, big bro, you don't have to lie, Yosaku replied pointedly. Let him fantasize, Vivi said. Maybe one day he'll have some men worship him like he worships himself. Maybe we should install Usopp as the new god once we topple Enel, Mari said with a smirk. Maybe then he'll finally have his army. That'd be hilarious. Johnny agreed. God Usopp. I can't even imagine how dumb you'd look, big bro. Johnny, the only one who looks dumb here is you. Usopp exclaimed. It's dark, take off the sunglasses, man. No, it's a part of my aesthetic. Aesthetic? How can you even see in such low light? I have good eyes. Is that why you stumble around the ship like a blind mole at night? Mari asked. I've seen you wearing those things on your way to the bathroom. That's because I'm sleepy, not blind. Whatever you say, man, Usopp said with a shrug. I'm just trying to make you as cool as me. Then go after Yosaku. He wears that head brace all the time, but no one says anything. That's because Yosaku needs a helmet on at all times, Mari said. He's in need of it. Exactly, Yosaku said. Hey, was that an insult, little sis? As the group descended into a comical argument about aesthetics and necessity, they failed to notice that they had entered into a dangerous place. A place that was dominated by one of only 5 men in Upper Yard who was feared by all, and now they were right in his circular sights. The group's bickering made them miss the floating, white spheres that had started to fade in and out from among the trees. And if you listened closely enough, a goofy-sounding laugh. This fight would have been over if Luffy was able to move freely. After stepped on one of Ohm's dialed traps that shot out barbed wire clouds, he and the others moved much more carefully. This was no issue for Ohm, who seemed to know the exact location of every single dial and how to avoid them. This was to say nothing of his wings, which he could use to hover off the ground in case he somehow stood on one of his own traps. Captain, Robin said from his right. I do believe we could end this quickly. Luffy raised an eyebrow at her, before realization set in, making him smirk. After you, Robin, he replied. Smiling back at him, Robin raised her arms and crossed them, palms facing upwards. Trace Fleur, she said. Instantaneously, 3 arms sprouted from Ohm's body. 2 came from his shoulders and latched around his neck, pulling him backwards in an attempt to hold him, while the 3rd came from his forearm and wrestled for control of the sword. Luffy smirked as the priest struggled to move. Nice one, Robin, he said. Get him now, guys. While he's held down, Chopper and Kamakiri jumped forward with him, intent on wiping out the priest with one combined blow. An interesting technique, Ohm said. Unfortunately, it seems its strength is limited by the users. In one swift movement, Ohm freed himself from Robin's clutch, the arms disappearing into a flurry of petals. He didn't even waste a single second, allowing his body to follow the motion and dodged all of their attacks with relative ease. Luffy landed and turned back, aiming another punch at him. This one, as well, was dodged and Ohm grabbed his extended arm. This is an interesting power as well, Ohm remarked as he pulled Luffy closer, who grunted as he tried to fight back. Sadly, his reduced physical strength in the sky made it harder than it should have been. Just another thing holding him back. Your body seems to be stretchy and malleable, but still holds all the psychical strength of a normal human's. Combining the two together must make you a dangerous foe. A pity your journey ends here. Luffy grunted in annoyance and tried to punch with his other fist, but Ohm dodged this as well and effortlessly tossed him away. What the hell is up with this guy? He asked as he adjusted his straw hat and got up. We can't hit him at all. It's mantra, Straw Hat, Kamakiri called. He's reading your moves before you make them. It's why the priests are so formidable. I'm impressed you natives know so much despite being so difficult to catch, Ohm said in his direction. Don't we just have to overwhelm him? Chopper asked. Surely he can't handle all of us? Please don't be ridiculous, Ohm said. I'm more than capable of handling a few Blue Sea rejects and Wiper's underlings. This won't be any trouble at all. He's not really wrong, Kamakiri said irritably. He can read all of us, it won't even be difficult for him. Luffy frowned at this and turned back to Ohm, wondering how such a broken power could even exist. The world had so many unknowns about it. If you can't even handle this, I fail to see how you planned on fighting Enel, Ohm said. He rushed at Luffy, who tried to clothesline him when he got close. Ohm ducked underneath his attack and slashed at his back, but Luffy let his momentum carry him and jumped out of the way. He turned to see Ohm fighting against Robin's created hands, which were trying to wrestle the blade away from him again. As this was happening, Kamakiri and Warashi appeared behind him. Warashi swung a large axe down on Ohm, who still had enough control of his body to fling himself out of the way. Kamakiri grabbed something off his belt, a dial attached to a handle, and aimed it at the priest. Burn blade, he shouted. Clicking the dial, flames erupted from the exit and roared towards Ohm. The priest tried to dodge again, but Robin had ensnared his legs with her arms, causing him to fall over as the flames engulfed him. Luffy watched the enemy disappear into the flames, not hearing any screams. This wasn't over from such a weak hit. Soon enough the flames faded, and Ohm got back to his feet, brushing ash off of his shirt. As I expected, fighting so many opponents makes it hard for me to deal with you all, he noted, especially that woman's ability. Even though she is limited by her own strength, her holds are very annoying. Robin laughed softly at this. I appreciate the praise, priest, she said innocently. I'll remember to work out my arms after this. There won't be any after this, Ohm said. I just need to keep you distracted, and I'll be able to defeat you all. With this, Ohm brought his hand to his mouth and used his fingers to whistle. The shrill, annoying sound echoed around them, reverberating off of the iron clouds that surrounded them. There was a brief second of silence, and then the ground began to rumble. Luffy turned towards the sound just in time to see a massive, white dog barrel into the opening, growling angrily. Where the hell did the dog come from? He demanded in surprise. It reminded him of Chow Chow somewhere 10 times bigger and angrier. Holy, Ohm shouted, go after the woman. The dog howled in response and turned its eyes to Robin, who was watching it warily. Robin, run! Luffy shouted, trying to run to her. He was stopped by a sword hilt to the back of the head, making him stumble. He rolled out of the way of the following slash and jumped back to his feet, searching for Robin. He found her standing a ways away from him, the dog still facing her. However, there was another figure in between them. Chopper, in his heavy point transformation, holding the mutt back from trampling her. I can handle the dog, Luffy, he shouted, focus on the priest. Luffy grinned as the reindeer shoved the dog back with all his might, making him tumble over and knock a tree over. I'm counting on you, Chopper, he shouted, turning back to Ohm. I don't want your praise, jackass, he said, clearly enjoying being relied on. Shaking Luffy's praise from his head, Chopper turned his eyes back to Holy as the dog got back on its feet, clearly sizing him up. Get out of my way, you disgusting creature. The dog spat angrily in a heavy accent, similar to Gonfal's bird Pierre. I won't let you hurt Robin, Chopper replied, holding his fists up. Luffy told me to protect her, so I will. She's a sinner who must receive God's judgment, Holy replied, but I suppose I have to deal with you first, you mangy pet. Holy charged at Chopper, who centered his gravity as he did so. The dog rammed head first into him, and Chopper slid back as he used all the strength he could muster to push the dog back. Soon they came to a standstill, neither able to move the other. Chopper grunted angrily as he tried to shove the dog away, but to no avail. If he was gonna beat this dog, he had to be tricky. Grunting, Chopper activated his devil fruit and shrunk back into his brain point, jumping off to the side. This caused the momentum Holy had been holding back to disappear, and the dog tumbled forwards before falling onto his face in the dirt. Returning to heavy point, Chopper rushed at the mutt as it tried to get up, jumping onto his back. Take this, you stupid dog! Chopper shouted as he rode on Holy's neck like a horseback rider. Heavy fists. Chopper drove his clenched fists into the top and sides of Holy's head, causing the dog to growl angrily and try to shake him off. Using the longer and more powerful legs of Heavy Point let Chopper stay atop the dog, punching him roughly. Enough of this, Holy shouted. I will not be ridden by some common animal, Chopper gasped in surprise as his world turned sideways, Holy having jumped and tilted his body. He slammed into the ground hard, his leg grip on Holy trapping him underneath the dog. The dog moved quickly, holding Chopper down with his front paw as he leered down at him. Get off of me! Chopper shouted at him, struggling against the dog's grip on him. Where was this strength coming from? He was just a dog. No, it wasn't just that. Chopper knew it was the oxygen deprivation of being so high in the sky. He was already not the strongest on the crew, so the lack of air was making it hard for him to deal with the mud in a timely manner. He was probably going to need a rumble ball. But how could he get one? His pack was with Robin, who was standing nearby and intervening in Luffy, Kamakiri and Warashi's exchanges with Ohm. I don't know how you've gained this power, you insignificant speck, Holy snarled down at him, but you will not best me. Ohm has trained me since I was a pup in martial arts. I won't be taken down by the pet of some blue sea pirate. Pet, pet, Chopper's arm muscles bulged angrily in response to his own rising anger. I'm not a pet, he roared angrily. With one mighty push, he managed to free himself from underneath the dog's paw and quickly transformed to his walk point, running a bit away to get some distance. He turned and retook his heavy point, rage still coursing through him. I'm a doctor, not a goddamn pet. How dare you take God Enel's name in vain, Holy demanded. Screw your god and the cloud he rode in on, Chopper shouted back. Once we're done with you and your handler, we'll go usurp that god. Then we'll steal his throne and sell it for gold. How does that sound, mutt? Chopper's jabs were twofold. First, he was mad about being called a pet and wanted to make Holy angry too. Second, and more importantly, making the dog angry made him turn his attention to him and not Robin. That was his overall, if not only, goal. Holy, for his part, looked positively furious. Veins were bulging from his forehead, and his eyes were going bloodshot. I'll make sure you get your punishment delivered last, Holy yelled, so you can watch all your friends be condemned and die first. The dog charged at him, and Chopper readied himself for another push. He was caught off guard, however, when Holy jumped up and curled one of his front paws into a fist. Huh? He asked weakly. He had not time to properly figure out why Holy could do that, instead jumping to the side. The earth where he'd been standing crunched under the dog's blow, creating a small crater where he'd been just moments before. Chopper stared at it in surprise as Holy got up, on his hind legs, and faced him again. I told you, Holy said, I was trained in martial arts since I was a pup. Are you scared, you mistake of nature? Chopper chose not to focus on the insult, and instead looked towards his pack by Robin's feet. He definitely needed a rumble ball. He just hoped the others were safe with Wiper. Wiper had no idea where the Straw Hat crew had gone. At one moment, they were at his side rushing towards the city. In the next, they had been enveloped by fog and lost sight on one another. Sound did not seem to carry very far in the fog, as his shouts for anyone to respond garnered nothing. If their information was correct, they'd been ensnared in the ordeal of the swamp. Gedatsu, one of the priests, was probably stalking him somewhere in the fog. Wiper cast a wary eye down at the ground beneath his feet, searching for dials or tripwires in his vicinity. From what he and the others had gathered, Gedatsu used swamp clouds as traps, which could quickly consume someone and trap them until they suffocated. If the straw hats with him were not lost, they might have been taken under when no one noticed. Wiper grit his teeth as he weighed his options. Like Ohm had by trapping Luffy and the others, Gedatsu was trying to either kill them, or slow them down. If sunrise came and Enel woke, they were all dead. The fog served as a labyrinth to trap them and leave them at his mercy. As if shouldering his launcher, Wiper cocked the handle and changed the dial that loaded into the back of it. Face me like a man, priest, he muttered, jet blast. The jet dial in the launcher activated, a powerful burst on air roaring from the mouth of the weapon. The swamp clouds, thick as they were helpless against the onslaught of the wind. The jet dial tore a circular hole in the fog around him, but he wasn't finished yet. Clicking the button again, Wiper fired another shot and cleared more fog, and more, and more. Before long, the fog surrounding him had dissipated massively, leaving him more aware of his surroundings. Which tipped him off to the person trying to flank him. Cocking the launcher handle again, Wiper exchanged the jet dial with a flame dial. Turning, he ducked underneath the punch aimed at his head and nearly shoved his launcher into Gedatsu's mouth. Hi, asshole, he said, pulling the trigger. Flames burst forth from the weapon, but Gedatsu was already avoiding and slinking back towards some of the fog. Your weapon is powered by a jet dial, Shandia warrior, Gedatsu's voice came from nowhere. You must have countless weapons like them stockpiled in your village. I'll make sure to tell the elder you approve of his dial collection, Wiper replied, warily watching his surroundings. Where are the straw hats? Who knows? Gedatsu asked. Maybe they've sunken into the swamp. Maybe they abandoned you. Should focus more on yourself. After all, you face a priest of Enel. Gedatsu's words ceased to be understandable, as all Wiper could hear was pathetic babble that sounded like he couldn't move his mouth. What the hell's wrong with you? He asked. Ah, my bad, Gedatsu said. I was talking with my tongue on the roof of my mouth. Where was I? Ah yes. I'm a priest of Enel, warrior. I won't let you past me. Wiper couldn't help but grin at this, aiming his launcher towards the fog. Then come and stop me, priest, he said, or I might accidentally topple your false god. Wiper remained dead silent, focusing intensely on his foggy surroundings. He was completely in the zone, listening for any sort of sound. He heard a branch crack behind him, so he whirled and fired his bazooka. The jet dial inside launched a massive gust of wind that cleared away much of the fog, but he didn't see anything. Gedatsu had slunk back into the fog. Growling, Wiper focused his hearing again, listening for anything. They didn't have time for this. They were dangerously close to sunrise, and if they didn't get to Enel before he woke, then this would be 100 times harder. That was the last thing they needed. He wanted to keep going, but he risked falling into the swamp clouds if he did that. He needed to defeat Gedatsu and clear the area. Deciding on a course of action, Wiper cocked his launcher's handle again, rearming the jet dial inside. He aimed it at his feet and fired. And fired. And fired again. Wiper launched blast after blast of wind at his own feet, which caused the air to fly outwards around him, forcing the swamp clouds back. Over and over he did this, intent on either clearing the area, or forcing Gedatsu to make a sound so he could find him. He soon got what he wanted. As he cleared the fog, he heard the sound of a dial being used off to his right. Whirling, he recocked his launcher and blasted a torrent of flame in that direction, but seemed to come up with nothing. Growling, he quickly scanned his surroundings, but didn't see anything. You're a capable warrior, Wiper of Shandia, Gedatsu's voice echoed around him. I see why you're the leader of this little incursion. Wiper grit his teeth as he once again listened to his surroundings. I'm the descendant of the great Calgera, he replied. I will reclaim my people's ancestral home in his honor. I doubt that, Gedatsu replied. In truth, even if you defeat me here, God Enel will wipe you off the face of the clouds. Guess we won't know until I clobber you, huh? Wiper growled. You're not going to defeat me, fool, Gedatsu said. I am a priest of Enel, and as such I am trained in multiple combat arts and mantra. Gedatsu's voice went higher and higher until it cut off and he began to cough violently. Using this, Wiper turned and launched another torrent of flame, which struck true. Gedatsu cried out as he was lit on fire, his silhouette now visible through the fog. Gotcha, Wiper growled, charging forwards. He reached Gedatsu just as the man was able to put out the flames, and slammed his launcher into his head. Gedatsu went down, but dodged Wiper's incoming punch and whirled away coughing. Ow. Gedatsu grumbled, rubbing his face. I really need to remember to breathe. How do you forget to breathe? Wiper demanded, advancing towards him to keep him in sight. Never mind that, the priest said. Seems you've managed to find me, warrior. But what about your friends? Don't you care if they suffocate down there in the swamp? He frowned at this, sparing a thought for the straw hats, wondering if they were stuck. He was also concerned about Mayushika, but he didn't have time to look for him either. I'll save them after I defeat you, he said. I don't have time to do it the other way around. They may not have that long, Gedatsu warned. Just like me, they may forget to breathe. I don't think that'll be an issue, he said bluntly. He aimed his launcher at Gedatsu, grinning. But in case they are that dumb, let me finish this up. He pulled the trigger, but Gedatsu was already underneath the belching flames. Wiper tried to back up, but not before Gedatsu delivered a punch to his hand, crushing it against the bazooka's handle and making him drop it. Bringing his hands up, he launched punches at the priest, but all of them were easily dodged and he got punched in the face, sending him skidding backwards. I was going to mention it earlier, Gedatsu said, but with mantra, you won't be able to defeat me. Wiper rolled his eyes at the mention of mantra, already knowing full well what it was. You lot in your mantra, he muttered, eyes darting around to try and find his opponent. Always lording it over everyone. It's one of many things that makes us worthy of working with God Enel, Gedatsu said from the fog, along with. Wiper waited for the man to finish, but he didn't. He assumed he'd forgotten to breath again, but hadn't coughed. Using the lull in combat to his advantage, he reached for the dials he'd kept hidden underneath his grass skirt. He equipped them just in time to hear a rustle behind him, and he whirled. He caught Gedatsu's punch in his hand, grinning as all resistance faded away. Thanks, he said, Before Gedatsu could say anything, Wiper used the priest's still-connected fist to his advantage. Impact. He clicked the dial against Gedatsu's knuckles. A sickening crack resounding through the fog as Gedatsu was thrown back by his own punch's force. Impact dials, huh? Gedatsu asked, getting back to his feet and cradling his right arm as he assessed the damage. I should have guessed you'd use something like that. What, did your mantra not see it coming? Wiper asked, raising his arms. Oh, I forgot to use it. Thanks for the reminder. Wiper resisted the urge to shout at him angrily, wondering what exactly his problem was. Now that I've remembered, prepare to. 108-pound Phoenix. Gedatsu hadn't finished speaking before he took a slash attack right to the back, sending him flying forwards. Using this to his advantage, Wiper slammed his fist into the priest's head, sending him down into the ground with a crunch. He looked up, watching as the green-haired Straw Hat appeared through the fog. If he recalled right, his name was Zoro. Oh, hey, Zoro said casually as he came closer, you're over here. Hey, Wiper greeted. He caught you in the fog too, huh? Yeah I guess so, Zoro said, looking down at Gedatsu at their feet. I keep running into this guy though. This is like the third time. You can find him through this thick fog? He asked, Zoro shaking his head. No, I just keep running into him while I try and find my way out, he replied. Gedatsu groaned at their feet, rolling away. I thought the directionally challenged one could be left for later, he mumbled, getting to his feet. How is he finding me? What did you just call me? Zoro asked irritably, readying his swords. Did you see your friends? Wiper asked, Mayushika? Zoro shook his head. No, but I'm sure the love cook is keeping Nijiko safe, he replied. He gestured to Gedatsu and said, I'm gonna steal your kill, okay Wiper? He made a face at this, grabbing his launcher from where it lay on the ground. Not if I get it first, he replied. Zoro grinned at this, and the two stood back to back as Gedatsu sank into the fog once more. We'll see who gets it first, he said. Balls. Johnny had never seen so many balls. On their trek towards the ancient city, the group he was with had suddenly entered a forest of balls. Gigantic, white spheres floated aimlessly through the sky around them, making him both fascinated and uneasy as he grabbed the hilt of his sword. I don't like these things, he muttered as they began to advance again, slower this time. Neither do I, Reiki said. If I remember our intel correctly, we've wandered into a priest's trial. Satori, and the ordeal of balls. Yosaku let out a snort at this, everyone looking at him. What? Reiki asked. What's funny? Johnny's partner blushed at this, looking away. Nothing, big sis, he said, giggling. Nothing. You have the strength to giggle like a little boy, huh? Marianne asked, poking Yosaku's bandaged body, making the swordsman yelp. Don't do that, little sis, he said, rubbing his side. I'm tender still. Nothing about you is tender, Mari said, looking annoyed. That's not true, I'm a big softie and you know it, Yosaku said. We can argue about Yosaku's matureness later, Nami said, readying her clean attack. Keep your eyes open for this Satori. We don't want to get caught off guard. Nami's right, look out for anything suspicious. The group did as the woman asked, their eyes darting every which way as they progressed deeper into the forest. The silence, interrupted by the sound of the balls floating through space and the undergrowth crunching under their feet, made Johnny apprehensive. It was only a matter of time until something happened, it was just a matter of what would happen. He got his answer as one of the balls blitzed towards them out of nowhere. Johnny had enough time to hit the dirt, but Genbo did not. The Shandian warrior was hit by the ball, and it exploded. Johnny was flung across the forest floor from the blast, hitting his back on a tree trunk as he did, groaning. As he slowly sat up, his vision was blurry, but he managed to shake off the vertigo and look upon what had happened. Everyone in the group had been thrown apart by the blast, but Genbo had been hit directly. The warrior had flown backwards and hit a tree, his body blackened by the explosives as he slowly slid and hit the ground. Genbo, Reiki shouted, getting to her feet to run to him. Lady, get down, Usopp shouted, rifle aiming her direction. Reiki did as he asked and dropped, and Usopp fired. A ball that had been flying towards Reiki exploded high in the air, saving her. Oh ho! A new voice said, that one has a sharp eye, I'm impressed. Following the sound, Johnny looked up, high into the sky, and saw the source. There was an odd-looking man sitting on a ball far above them. He resembled his weapon of choice, his body spherical and massive. It would have been funny if he wasn't the enemy. His entire body seemed rounded, even the glasses over his eyes. How did one maintain that shape, exactly? You must be Satori, he said, getting to his feet, the priest of Enel. The very same, Satori replied. And you must be the pirates who gave old Shira a beating. I'm impressed you managed to force him off. I wouldn't say that's what happened, Johnny muttered, too quiet for Satori to hear. The priest laughed and held up his arms. Welcome to the ordeal of balls, he exclaimed. It was a hassle to move it all the way out here, so I hope you don't mind that I have a few extra hands helping me out. Johnny made a face at this, but he got his answer when another 2 balls soared towards them, landing on the ground. Only then did he realize they were people, round like Satori. How many spearmen are up here? Mari demanded from his left. Hotori, Kotori, Satori said. We'll be stopping these pirates here. Do not give them any room to breathe, or Enel will punish us all when he wakes up. Of course, brother, the other 2 spheres said at the same time. Johnny assumed they were twins, if not triplets. Reiki grimaced as the brothers on the ground got into a fighting stance, the horde of balls seemingly closing in on them. This isn't good, she said. Nami, Usopp, focus on keeping Satori off of us. You 2 have the longest range out of all of us here. All right, Usopp said, aiming his rifle at Satori while Nami whirled the cleam attacked. Johnny, Yosaku, Reiki continued, turning to look at both of them. I need your help dealing with these 2. They may not be priests, but don't underestimate them. Got it, Johnny said, drawing his blade. Yosaku did as well, though he looked shaky on his feet. You guys are in bad shape, Marianne said, running up to them as they converged on each other. I'll help you out with paints. I'm not sure I'll be of much help, Vivi added, but I'll keep my eyes on them, looking for any opening I can find. Johnny simply nodded as Mari took out her paints, swirling her brush in orange. Adrenaline again? He asked as she painted the color across his arms, energy beginning to pump through his veins. You guys will be exhausted once this is all over, she mumbled, but at least you'll still be alive. He only nodded again as she moved on to Yosaku, painting him as well. Once she was done, they both began to circle around Hotori and Kotori, who for some reason had yet to attack. They seem to think they stand a chance, brother, one of them said. Shall we show them otherwise? The other asked. I think we shall, he said. This brother turned to Johnny, his smile unnerving and creepy. Before he raised a hand and launched himself at him. As he prepared to parry the attack, Johnny saw the source. A dial was on the man's palm. On instinct, he dodged out of the way of the attack, which seemed like the correct move as whatever force came from the dial sliced a massive tree deeply, the wood carved open like butter. He quickly got to his feet and swung his blade upwards, but the brother dodged backwards out of the way easily, laughing as he did. Did you learn nothing about mantra fighting, Shira? He asked. You cannot hit me with such feeble attacks. Great, mantra again. Did everyone up here know it? He spared a glance over to Nami and Usopp, who were keeping their eyes on Satori. The priest himself hadn't moved, seemingly content to let his brothers soften them up. Eyes on me. Johnny turned back just in time to parry another strike, the dial activating again and a slash coming out of it. He was successful in stopping the attack, thankfully, but the force of the wind that flew past Johnny cut his cheek, making him stumble backwards. He glanced over at Yosaku, who was engaging the other brother in a short-range exchange. Mari and Vivi watched worriedly, Vivi's eyes scanning both of them like a hawk looking for an opening. Reiki was checking on Genbo, who had not recovered from the blast yet. All in all, they weren't in a good spot. So they had to change that. The mantra ability these people had was a problem. However, back on the Mary, he'd been able to fend off Shira a little. Not enough to matter, but a little. How had he done that? Why had he been able to? He didn't have time to wonder, as the brother was on him again. He dodged to the right and rolled away before getting to his feet, preparing his sword. Sword of the Sea. Raging tsunami. Spinning, Johnny launched the ranged attack off his blade towards the brother, who ducked out of the way. Johnny watched his slash attack carve through the brush surrounding them, gritting his teeth. This isn't going to be easy, he grumbled. I warned you this would happen, freak, Holy said. Chopper gasped for air, laying on his back staring at the sky. Holy was stronger than he looked, and he'd been hurt badly. He used his skill as a doctor to diagnose himself with several nasty fractured bones and lacerations, but he didn't have time to focus on that. If Holy turned his attention back to Robin, she'd be unable to hinder Ohm. He had to make sure he won this. But how? He needed a rumble ball. Something nudged his foot, making him look down. An arm was on the ground, his pack in its grasp. His eyes widened and looked back to Robin, who had an eye on him with a smile. You look like you needed a pick-me-up, doctor, she said. Holy tried to stomp on the arm, but he failed. The arm tossed the pack upwards, and Chopper used all his strength to jump and grab it. He sorted through it expertly, grabbing the rumble balls and plopping one into his mouth. The power of the rumble balls surged through his veins, his very being rippling and changing. Chopper scowled as power flooded into him. Holy looked surprised by his defiance. Rumble. Arm point. As he spoke, his arms rippled and grew to insane sizes, veins bulging under the skin as his muscles expanded. The newly acquired strength helped him force Holy off of him, shoving the dog to the ground as he got to his feet. He took as many deep breaths as he could manage, needing all the air he could in order to finish this. Seems you've acquired some aid, pet, Holy said, standing up on his hind legs. Chopper growled at this, glaring at Holy from under the brim of his hat. I am not a pet, he said coldly. I am not a freak, and I told you how this was going to go. I won't let you touch Robin. Holy barked out a laugh, readying himself. Come then, doctor, he said, let's see what's stronger, martial arts. The two animals rushed at each other and clashed, the blast startling the humans present within the cage. Robin smiled warmly as she saw Chopper fending off the dog, her aid having given him the advantage he needed. You can do it, doctor, she mumbled, returning her attention to Ohm.